Down to Biscayne.
Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust.
You sound scared.
It's about have the guts, we're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to 5 on the Floor. This is a post-game edition, maybe the best post-game show that we will do all season, all season so far, just because it's the best win of the season. I think the Miami Heat, we come to you directly after the Miami Heat beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 122-113. I'm Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Digital Adel Major Passons. We are going to dive into this matchup because it was one of a 21-3 Cleveland Cavalier team that was atop the conference. It was a measuring stick game, whether the Heat fan wanted it to be or not, whether the Heat wanted it to be or not, and they came through in a major way. There's a lot to talk about. Tyler Herro is just on fire. Actually, you know what? First, let me just plug Discord. Everyone, for $2.99, you can sign up for all of your Miami Heat talk. We have channels to talk about other stuff too, so you can really migrate to this being your social media hub, but you got to do it on Discord. Off the Floor, $2.99, $3.99 on your Apple device. Check that out for sure. And yeah, let's just dive right into the player of the night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So I feel like maybe by the end of this season, this segment is going to be dedicated to this player because he ends up being this the chosen one night after night. Adele, Tyler Herro is on another level right now. 10 of 19, 34 points. Got to the free throw line 9 times, and, he sinks those with regularity. 7 assists, 6 rebounds, only 2 turnovers. I mean, he's balling. And it's interesting to see him react to counters, be more aggressive getting to the basket, even if it doesn't always mean he's finishing over the top of people, stuff like that. Just being willing to go in there and initiate contact and getting the benefit of the doubt from the whistle at times is just I'm not used to that from the Tyler Herro experience, and it shows me that he's growing with his game overall. Your thoughts on Tyler Herro leading the Heat to a victory over the best team with the team? I'm not going to call them the best team in the league, but they have the best record today, and they are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they were relatively intact as the Heat were. Your thoughts on Tyler Herro leading the way tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was terrific what we've seen from Tyler in terms of his growth and maturation as a player. It's what you see whenever the all that work you put in offseason after offseason to reinvent his body, to fix his shot to be more efficient than it already was, and then the game slowing down and the reads are coming quicker, and he just makes all the right plays at the right time. And that's the sign of growth. And like Major said on a post-game show before, he's getting that all-star whistle now as well. So there's definitely he's going to make a strong case for himself to be an all-star. And I just think he's putting it all together. I just think that the hard work he's put on in the offseason, gaining the weight, gaining the muscle, the extra explosiveness, I just think it's all paying off at the right time. And it really manifests itself whenever you see Bam in critical possessions deferring to Tyler, and you see Jimmy in critical possessions deferring to Tyler, you can clearly see that they've all come together to be like, look, Tyler, we need you to be this type of guy, and he's delivering on it.
That's so true. There was a possession late where Cleveland, I mean, not so late because it obviously was out of hand by the last couple minutes, but it got close there for a minute. It was a little bit like, are they mounting a comeback, Major? Like, that's what I was thinking. And for a crucial possession, Jimmy Butler willingly in the backcourt gave the ball to Tyler, and Tyler brought it up and initiated what they were going to get into. I guess let's talk Jimmy a little bit. Anybody else that jumped off the page for you, since this is kind of the best player of the game segment, and we've talked and waxed poetic about Tyler night after night because he keeps killing it night after night. And we shouldn't minimize the fact that he keeps doing that. That's a huge deal. This was a really big win for them overall. But who else jumped off the page to you from the Heat of what was, one of their best victories of the season?
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but Jimmy Butler did what I've been preaching all year. In the closing minutes, kind of when you said it started getting tight, Jimmy Butler showed up. He was great in the fourth quarter, kind of not existent for quarters 2 and 3 especially, but fourth quarter was his best quarter, which is what they need it to be. But I want to shout out Duncan Robinson. We haven't talked about him as much on the post games as we probably should. He's 4-6 from 3, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 7-11 of overall. He's like back to Duncan Robinson, how we know. And you can even think back to those previous years. Duncan hitting shots opened up everything for a lot of other players. It makes it a lot easier. It's no secret that Bam and Duncan, they play really well together, and one of them's playing better. The other one plays better. Their games match perfectly. Bring back an old term that we used to use all the time, gravity. It is a thing, right? And it does make a big difference. Then you add Herro on top of that, 2 really elite shooters. It opens up a little bit more for Bam. And I do want to mention Bam, 16 points, 13 rebounds, 2 of 4 from 3, 7 of 14 overall. I want to mention a couple of games ago, I talked about how in the second quarter, or the first quarter of when he shot it, Bam shot a shot and it trickled in and you could see his shoulders drop. And I said, we might look back at that as a time to where the lid finally was taken off. From that point on, Bam has been scoring. Bam has been efficient in his buckets. But I want to shout out the 13 rebounds and 6 assists. And on 14 shots, he could definitely take more, but I'm not going to complain about that at all. I think people that complain about shot numbers is a little bit crazy, especially in a win like this. But he upped his efficiency, but he's still also being that facilitator. And I think it kind of helps that Heat started playing better when Bam was more of a facilitator. And we've talked about this his whole career. He's a very underrated passer. So I think Duncan playing better, you have Bam being more of a facilitator, which then opens up Bam for easier shots and Herro and Jimmy for easier shots. I think they're just clicking right now, and it's kind of what I envision this team could be at their ceiling. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah, it's another game where I think we all collectively maybe look at this and say, wow, everybody kind of played their role and they got to the spots that they needed to get to and they won. And this has been an ongoing conversation with this group of like, how do you make the pieces fit? And they fit perfectly in the last game. They've won 3 straight now. But I think the game against Phoenix was when I think specifically Tyler, Bam, and Jimmy all looked good. This was a game that they are now building upon that. That's a huge deal. I do not want to understate the fact that Cleveland's been just, I think they're 8-2 on the road going into tonight. Like they've been going into people's houses and winning games. And I think 2 of their losses are to Atlanta or something like that. So they've been pretty flawless. And so this is a big victory for the team. Let's actually get to the play of the day. We're going to hit you from left field on this one. Let's go to that segment now.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you if you work in a hospital or a medical office. Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-0000. 9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile Sea Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
So there wasn't much defense in this game. If you look at the splits for both teams, like the field goal percentages were pretty high. But there was one play that we're going to reference, and that was with 4:32 to go in the third quarter. Ty Jerome goes to the basket and gets swatted by none other than Thomas Bryant. We even got Thomas Bryant highlights tonight. Like, that's when you know things are going well for the Heat. Just overall, Adel, when we look at this team, this was a game where they had to keep up with Cleveland offensively. This wasn't a defensive, grinded out type of tempo game. Is there anything that we can draw from them being able to go blow for blow with a team like Cleveland? I actually didn't check Cleveland's offensive numbers, but I mean, they shot 42% from three, 48% overall, actually 47.7, which was exactly what Miami shot. The shot profiles, just in terms of makes and misses, were pretty even across the board here. Miami had the rebounding edge. I guess I didn't really see a defensive push from this team other than the highlight block of Thomas Bryant. But anything from your perspective that you think we should take away from this matchup against Cleveland specifically?
Yeah, the one thing that really sticks out to me is that you had 6 players in double figures tonight. You had Jimmy with 18 points. You had Bam with 16. You had Duncan with 23. Tyler with 34. Drew Smith with 11. And the guard, Terry Rozier, with 14 points. So it was a big night all around. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the depth is finally starting to pay off. Spo is finding the guys he can trust. As you can see, like early in the season, you had a lot of Alec Burks. Not as much Alec Burks as we would have liked. A lot of Richardson. You had a lot of Jovic. And now you don't have so much of those guys. So I think you found some guys that he can trust and he can stick with. And the Drew Smith stuff is real. He makes winning plays. There was a stretch where he had 2 offensive rebounds late in that fourth quarter to get an open 3 out of it. So he just does all the little things, and he sets really good screens. That's not something you really say for a guard often, but it makes a difference in this type of offense where he's not going to be a main cog and teams sag off him, and he's been knocking down the threes. I mean, tonight, Drew Smith was 50% from 3 on 6 attempts. So he's been contributing very well. He's been very efficient and just doing all the little things and winning plays that help you win. So I think that's the biggest thing is Spo has figured out the players that can contribute to winning with this group. That's my ultimate takeaway.
Yeah, I think that they've settled into this starting lineup, and the starting lineup has a pretty damn good record, if I remember correctly. And they've settled into Terry in this bench role. And tonight was probably the ideal Terry off the bench, like, profile of what you want from him. I don't think that you get that every single night. And we've talked about some of the over dribbling and such, but Major, I think that we need Terry Rozier to figure out some sort of place on this roster. He has to find a purpose. It can't be a situation where he's a $20 million player that doesn't contribute at all. So to me, this is a positive step. I know a lot of people are really cynical about Terry right now. He didn't need to do much against Phoenix, but he did play better against LA in this 3-game winning streak, has another good game against Cleveland now. Do you think that this is just the highs and lows of Terry Rozier, or have they found something with him off the bench?
I think it's a little bit of both. Terry Rozier, we've talked about, is really hot, really cold, and you just got to live with it. The Heat, unfortunately, in that starting lineup, could not live with it, right? They can live with it more off the bench, especially how the team's currently constructed. You can live with the guy taking a little bit more shots, doing a little bit more dribbling if he's out there with, let's say, a Drew Smith, and that's no disrespect to Drew Smith. Y'all know how much I like Drew Smith, but he's not a guy that you want taking a bunch of shots consistently. Like, with the bench unit, Terry Rozier can be Terry. He can be that guy that takes some ill-advised shots, but that's his game. Ethan talked about one time he takes those sidestep threes and he waits for the defense to come. Not great shots, but that's Terry, and you need players to be themselves, especially at the NBA level. And with the starting lineup, he was just not himself. He's more able to do that with the bench unit. So I think that actually is something. But I want to point out my favorite thing about Terry, his 9 rebounds. He is always attacking the boards. And even in his quote unquote bad games and games he's not shooting well, he's doing those other little things, which gives him a role on the bench as well. It's not good enough for the starting lineup, but it's good enough for the bench. I mean, you have Eric Reed even calling him the little big guy because he's out there boxing out. He even got a block. Like, he was just making winning plays, and he's been doing that a lot more since he's been on the bench. It's like his whole mindset has shifted.
Yeah, Adele has a theory about why Terry gets lots of rebounds. You want to share that with everyone? I think it was your theory.
Well, my theory is he's got long arms. Like, he's got a really big wingspan. So maybe I'm not the theory you're thinking of, but I just think he has a big wingspan and he tries hard. Oh, I think I know the theory you're talking about, because then he gets to dribble. That's exactly right. He gets to take the ball off the glass, dribble it up the court. That's exactly right.
Awesome. So it is the quickest way to get the ability to dribble the basketball up the court is to go get the rebound.
That's right.
No, as we joke a little bit, this has been a couple games now where the Heat have left fans feeling good about things. And I think that that's something that we should hone in on just for a second, because this season, it's felt like people are kind of trudging the road through some of it. And even the transaction stuff that used to hype people up, people have a sense of kind of like, that's not going to necessarily change any of this. So there's been almost a degree of, at least from the rabid fans, some of which are on Off the Floor, shout out to them. And just like the people that are hyper focused on the team day to day, they've been just kind of cynical about the whole thing. And I thought that today was a big step for them to get a victory against Cleveland. So we are going to take a moment and shout that out for sure. But let's get defending the house, our segment from Real Estate Shop, in here next. I don't know what we're going to pick, because I actually probably used the play I should have used for this segment with the Thomas Bryant block, but maybe we'll use it twice because it was such a resounding play from one Thomas Bryant. No, I kid. Let's get to the segment.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Again, defense wasn't the forte of tonight, but Adele, you got one for us?
Absolutely. And the fans are going to remember this one, and they're going to love this one. This was one Duncan Robinson stealing the ball from Jared Allen, holding the ball high above his head. He smacks it into the backcourt, corrals it, and goes in for the 2-hand flush. That is your Defending the House play of the night.
Love it. That was a great one. Among a night where there was, some hot shooting from both sides, for Duncan Robinson to display that kind of aggressive play and then to get out and get the dunk. That's all fun stuff. Duncan got to the rim a couple times tonight. I thought that he and Tyler did a really great job of maybe it was just the benefit of a good whistle tonight, but it felt good to see those guys getting to the line and initiating contact. Those are all positive things. Let's close out with Bam. Major, are you ready to say Bam is he's out of the slump? I want to caution, because I think people will get ahead of themselves. I think that that's behind him now. I get the feeling just from looking at him and the way that he's playing that we're going to see the Bam that we know and love going forward from an offensive perspective. The rest of it was there to varying degrees at times, I understand. But for the most part, Bam's been Bam defensively. Offense is where he's needed to improve. I feel like he's turned the corner. Your thoughts as he shoots, what was it, 7 of 14 tonight? So he was, 50%, 2 of 4 from 3. So, building upon these percentages, trying to get him back up. Your closing thoughts on Bam here?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of what I mentioned earlier, I think he's kind of past that. I know it's only been 2 games, and even at the start of the year, he had 1 or 2 games where he shot really well, then he went right back. It just seems something different. He's getting more to his shots that he has had his whole career since he's been an all-star. But I also want to point out, Bam, the only thing he wasn't doing, and you alluded to this, was shooting the basketball well. He was doing everything else. He was passing well. His offense was still a positive, in my opinion, when he was on the court. It just wasn't the shooting. Like, his passing can't be understated when they switched on how they're running the offense. But I don't know if we're going to see him take as many shots or get to 20 points a game, 23 points a game. I think he might hover around that 18 to 19 range, but I think it's just going to be a more efficient way of getting those buckets. He looks confident in his shot now.
Adel, your closing thoughts on the Heat's best victory of the season in 3 in a row?
Yeah, absolutely. 3 in a row. They are streaking your Miami Heat. 12 and 10. What are they? 4th in the division now, I believe, something like that. So they are sticking right in the thick of things. But here's something that a lot of people are going to overlook about this team. It's very subtle. And we always say water reaches its level with basketball when it comes to shooting. And that is free throws. During this win streak, they've been making their free throws. And tonight they shot 92% from the free throw line. And that's a big part of why they won this game. That and second chance points. The Heat had 19 second chance points and they made their free throws. That's why, even though the percentages are so close, that's why the Heat came out on top ultimately when it comes to the math.
We will have you covered for the rest of the games. I think one of the next game actually may have just been added to the schedule. Is it Toronto that they play next? I hope that that's correct. But either way, we're going to have you covered for it. Thank you to Adel. Thank you to Major. Thank you to our sponsors. The Miami Heat get another victory at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're building on something. We'll see what it is. Hope they can sustain it. Thank you for joining us. Peace out.